shiny disco, 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 shiny disco ball.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Balls in Your Face Marketing. I am so excited for this season, and I have an amazing guest to kick off this season. Quick little housekeeping item before I get started. Just a quick note to people to let you know that I will be speaking at the Global Digital Marketing Summit in Jamaica, May 7th to May 9th. This summit is going to be amazing. There's going to be all kinds of other great keynote speakers who are there. You can sign up online and enjoy the conference online, or if you're willing, buy a ticket, come on down to Jamaica, come and meet me there. We'll listen to some Bob Marley, we'll have some fun. It's going to be a blast. So now back to the main event. I have with me Guillaume Moubeche. This is a young man to keep an eye out this year for sure. He's a rock star in email marketing, which again is not actually one of my fortes. So he already knows like an area that I don't know much about. But on top of that, he's already into something that I really love, which is SaaS. And he's doing some development stuff, which again, I would love to kind of do, but I would rely on other people a lot. So, so it's not something that I'm ready to do yet, but he is the CEO of Lemlist and Lempod. We will talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, Guillaume Moubeche.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show. And actually, I'm gonna check this Jamaica thing because it looks pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, man, that's gonna be so much fun. At a minimum, come online. There's who else is gonna be it? From LinkedIn? If you haven't checked out Keith Keller, he has a show. He's really good on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
And he's based in New Zealand, and he was like, oh, I'm not flying all the way there. So he's actually going to be presenting online there as well. So there's a lot of some really great talent that are going to be speaking at that. But enough about that, my friend. Let's talk about you. You look so young, so fresh. You look like you just came out of the oven. And yet you've created some pretty cool stuff. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what Lemlist and Lempod are?
Okay, so Lemlist, first of all, is an email automation platform that allows you to get more replies to your email thanks to personalized images and videos. So basically, before starting doing Lemlist, I had an agency where I was helping SMBs, like small companies, to grow and acquire customers. And I realized that a lot of people, whenever they were trying to reach out to people they don't know, so what we say doing cold email, they were actually not getting a lot of replies simply because they were doing it wrong. So the idea behind inserting personalized images and videos, it's really to add this human feel on the email and just to remind all the person that are using cold email that they should always focus on building a relationship. It doesn't matter basically if your service is not a good fit for the person you're reaching out to. In the end, what's good is really to focus on building a relationship, because even though the person doesn't like your service or is not the right fit, if your email was convincing and the person just thought, okay, this guy is a good guy, or I like what he's doing, even though it's not a good fit, he will even recommend you to other people.
Sure.
And in the end, again, people don't buy for a service, they really buy from people. So whenever you're reaching out, adding this human touch really helps out. So my goal is really, to help all my users. So we grew Lemlist actually from 0 to more than 8,000 customers in the last year. We have a good community on Facebook, which is called the Email Outreach Family, where we basically give tips, email templates, so people can get inspiration and get better results. And regarding Lempod, so the second project, this time is basically to help people get more visibility on LinkedIn by sharing the power of that network, in essence.
Great. Yeah, so that's amazing. So tell me a bit about your background. Are you the lead key programmer behind this SaaS?
So initially, actually, I'm a chemical engineer. So nothing to do with everything I'm doing. But then I started like studying business. So I've got like a master in marketing, and then I basically really enjoyed all the business side. So I was in charge of the business. And actually, you remember when I told you I initially got my agency, and I started helping like two highly talented developers. So those guys were coding, basically it's like two brothers, and they were coding since they were 5. Now they're around like 40. And basically, like after hanging out with them, working on side project and trying to help them, I just say, okay, like we need to do something together. And since then, basically we're like 3 co-founders. There are 2 on the tech part, and I'm doing the business side.
The business side. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Lempod, because I love it. I thought it was a brilliant tool. I mean, basically, let's break this down a bit, because this is, some people aren't even aware of this. And there's also, I think this is a really timely discussion, because I've been hearing rumors circulating on LinkedIn lately that they might be cracking down on pods. Now, I had the impression that LinkedIn was fine with it, that they knew that people were doing it, and why not, right? It's, again, like, it's sort of a freedom of association, and people want to build up their networks. That is what the purpose of the platform is. And if people want to kind of combine their efforts, what people were doing was basically this, is they would create what is called an engagement pod. And they would create, basically it's just a chat, a thread, where a group of like-minded content creators could share the links to their content, and they would support each other. And through that, there is an element, I think this is where maybe a debate comes in, right? There's an element to which you're now gaming the algorithm, because you, in liking and supporting each other, you are also exposing your content and each other's content to each other's networks. And that's why it's been an effective strategy for people to broaden their horizons. Lempod helps you automate that, because engaging in everybody's content, supporting each other and so on, can be time consuming. And this automates that process, which again is what's so brilliant about it. So let's talk about the rumors. Let's talk about
I think I really like the way you phrased everything, to be honest. It was actually, I think I'm going to take your video and put it on our website, because I always struggle explaining like what a pod is and so on, but man, you nailed it.
Nice, good. Okay.
So yeah, regarding regarding LinkedIn and the rumors, I think a lot of people are freaking out. It's a bit, to be honest, like it's a bit like GDPR for me. Like last year, everyone was like freaking about GDPR, but they didn't even know what it was. Like people were like, oh shit, with GDPR, we're not going to be able to do this and this anymore. It's going to be massive chaos. People are going to get fined. It's been 1 year. And the only number that increased like exponentially on LinkedIn was the number of GDPR experts. But in the end, basically, like nothing happened. Like seriously, everyone is going back to normal with everything. But anyway, like for LinkedIn, I really think, that a lot of people, like, I don't even know how the rumor started, but really like it's always the same. Like it spreads. I mean, we say it, it spreads like a rumor. But it's, to be entirely honest, I think LinkedIn would really be struggling to figure out those things, because basically, like, even, okay, let's take a normal post. Like technically, it's gonna be super difficult for them to actually see it. And I think like by trying to have like really advanced sanctions such as banning and so on, they would really lost the value of their platform. Because let's go back to the beginning. LinkedIn, in essence, is a media. So a media, exactly like Facebook, which means that as long as people are on the platform, they're making more money. Yeah. So when people get a lower reach, they're not going to stay and they're not going to repost, because they're not going to see the ROI. So for them, because they're selling like so much premium price to recruiters and so on, they need people to be on the platform. Yeah. And they need people to actually produce content. Because with no content, there is no LinkedIn. Like if tomorrow no one posts on LinkedIn, what are they going to sell to advertiser who are buying like those $100,000 ad spots on LinkedIn? They're going to sell nothing. Mm-hmm. So what I really believe is that it's a pure rumor. I think nothing's going to happen. I don't have the proof of it, but that's my really like my feeling, my gut feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think that for tools, you know, we're automating, for example, data scraping and so on. It's been like some tools are around, have been around for like
Sure.
5-10 years, you know, and
Absolutely.
they're literally like raping LinkedIn of its data, to be honest. So
Yeah.
before they actually start taking and going after the users, I think they might start with those extensions. And again, it's again very difficult for them to know. Like those extensions are usually spotted because they modify the code of the page.
Right.
And LinkedIn on its end, what they're doing, they're not actually trying to flag people, but what they're trying to do is more like limit the number of profile views and page views, so you actually upgrade to a paid plan. So that's kind of how they work. Like they're
Right.
smart, you know, like they're
Yeah.
it's business in the end. So if they can make money out of it, they'll be like, yeah, okay, that's fine, you know.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah, and look, like, I mean, that's look, I agree with you. First of all, you know, that's a perfectly legit business model. They have to make money somehow.
yeah, definitely.
You people were all upset that it, you know, right? Like with the exactly going back to the whole GDPR, you know, Facebook Analytica scandal, and people like exactly saying like, well, how do you make money? It's like, well, we sell ads. That is Facebook's business model.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, let's be realistic. I think you're right. I think your gut instinct is right, and it's similar to mine. First and foremost, you know, no platform in terms of like an as an advertising platform, which they have, but it's just nowhere near the sophistication of Facebook.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and Google is its own kind of beast, but it's certainly, they're nowhere even near there. So I agree that like user time, the number of users on their platform and the amount of time that those users are spending a day is where they all know is their greatest value. And in fact, you know, I would say that I moved over to, I decided like during that whole scandal period, that was the perfect time to kind of try to crack the LinkedIn code, because for sure people were spooked. And it was like, okay, well, where are they going to be going? And it's like, okay, they're going to be going to LinkedIn, so let's crack that code. And yeah, but they're playing catch up, so they want to support that audience, right? And exactly like if it is a networking, you know, platform, if that's what the whole point is for people to grow their communities and network, you know, and thrive as business opportunities, let those communities thrive. I guess again, they want to make it. They also at the same time have an obligation to keep it fair, right? So that some underdog who just comes in and doesn't have the network and isn't connected and isn't using Lempod and, you know, all these things, right? And they just start getting posts. Well, you want that to come up in somebody's newsfeed, you know, to get it rolling kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is the funny thing. You're right about social media, right? At large, like all of this technology. It's a constant game of cat and mouse between, you know, us, the marketers, who are constantly really trying to game it, who are trying to, you know, say, okay, well, where can we get an edge so that we can have better performance on behalf of our clients? That, you know, I mean, that's what our job is. And as a result, really, you know, when things become too effective and therefore we kind of occupy too much space, we get too much of the audience, those algorithms, those companies say, okay, we have to distribute the wealth, so to speak, distribute the attention.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, to be entirely honest, I think that's kind of what they started doing like a few months back when they changed their algorithm. It's not a matter of making the pod work less. It's just about like, for people who have never posted before, they try to really like encourage them. Actually, it's pretty like, we start having quite a few data on how much posts, and like, for example, someone who have never posted and start posting in a pod, it would get like an amazing reach at first, like really, because LinkedIn, they're just gonna push the content of the one that have never posted, just so they get, you know, like that feel of, holy shit, like my content is being watched by that many people, you know, like it sounds free, but actually your content is what makes LinkedIn good. And if you're producing good content, you're gonna become like a LinkedIn rock star. But yeah, I 100% agree with what you said. Like, marketers really try to game everything. Like, I think there are like a saying actually who is like basically marketers ruins every platform. I don't believe that. But actually, in the end, I think it's just like I think we're also very self-centered in a sense where, okay, we're going to be maybe like, maybe they are, let's say, 10,000, or I don't know. Nowadays, maybe they are like, okay, 20, 30,000 people involved in pod, like in LinkedIn. So we would say like, wow, 30,000, it sounds like a lot. But actually, if you look at the stage of LinkedIn, 30,000 out of 500 millions, or even more than 500 millions, it's like a drop in the water, you know, it's nothing.
Yeah.
So that's why actually I find it really funny, because those rumors, they really spread out within the same person that are actually the 0.1% of the community, and everyone gets scared, which is actually pretty good, because for those who get scared, they just go away and do something else, which leaves even more room. Actually, I think it's even like a good technique, you know, you start spreading rumors, so everyone stops doing things. And I'm sure, you know, like, to be entirely honest, that it's a joke, but I'm almost sure that the guy who invented GDPR is actually a guy that is that was launching, you know, his cold email agency or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
give him a competitive edge.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? It's really interesting, and you know, I think again, you're right. There was something that I wanted to kind of touch on there, and I'm probably going to end up having to edit this out because I completely forget what it was. I do. Okay, so we'll come back to that. No. Here's what it was. Here's what it was what it was, because it kind of brings everything back together again. When you're talking about, again, like when you talk about that phrase, you know, okay, marketers ruin a platform. For sure, there's an element of where now, especially today, where metrics are there's just more KPIs today that ever existed in the early days of marketing when I first got started, right? So for sure, there is this fascination with the metrics, and people want to optimize for those metrics. But what's very interesting when you speak to any marketer like yourself, something that you said right off the bat was, again, about how it all comes down to relationships. It's still about people. And, you know, a perfect example, when you use that example about somebody who comes in and they post for a first time, I've got a clear-cut case example of this that I think also illustrates exactly like what is happening organically with the people, with the fact that there's this increase in entrepreneurship and small businesses and all of this, and this rise in what I've often spoken about as the gig economy. There's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of pressures and reasons for people sort of to turn towards that model. So in this particular case, I had somebody who had been a marketer for years, but she was very nervous about creating videos. And so she reached out to me to do a bit of coaching for her first video, did a first video, which was actually, again, like basically just a video about why she'd been so nervous. She knew that she wanted to be doing LinkedIn videos. She'd been encouraging her own clients to do it. And that was the ultimate reason why she felt that she had to do it herself, is to sort of set the example. But she was nervous, and it was all about like all the reasons that her brain had told her not to do it, and why that was the one reason. And same thing, because, you know, so I coach her, and then to give her a little boost, exactly, I was in some pods and I said, hey, everybody, can you give my friends some support here? And exactly same thing, 30K views in like 24 hours, 100 connection requests in 24 hours. I mean, tons of stuff. But here's the real human side of that story, which is that from all of that, you know, from 100 people, one person became a client. That client then, she did a great job for them, and that client then recommended her to another client. And this was a fairly big one. And so as a result, we, you know, and I've white labeled with her, she's white labeled with me. And we said, okay, here's a thing where this would be a good partnership. And here we are now jointly, applying, trying to get this business. All of that is the organic fallout, right? So all of that to say, again, going back to the fact that, yes, yes, we're trying to get returns. Yes, we're analyzing the data. That's our job. But at the end of the day, most marketers still realize you can automate as much as you can, but you still want what you're trying to do with your emails, with Lemlist, with Lempo is humanize the experience as much as you can. And you know at the end of the day that there is a human relationship that gets built in the
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Right. So just all of that is like a real clear cut like case example of how it actually happens organically, and why is there anything wrong with that? Right. That's classical that's classic networking, period. And that's what LinkedIn is all about.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't agree more. Like it's really like, I mean, initially it was about that, like creating a network. And then, I mean, it's always the same, you know, like you build a network. It's the same as joining a group. The people in your network, you're going to be willing to help them. And it's again the same, like help them share. Like if I ask a friend, like, could you make me an intro to that person? Because I've seen that you know them, they're going to say yes. And it's a bit the same, but this time it's with content. So it's like, you're not sharing, but you're engaging with my content. So obviously the person that knows you are going to see it also, you know, like, or a part of those persons, and so on, you know. And as you said, like I think overall LinkedIn is really a great platform. I think that the content is valuable. Then again, you know, like it's not because you're automating things that you can't provide quality content, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, this is something, you know, like in pods that is also really important, that the admin is actually like kind of checking the content. That way people can really focus on producing quality content. So you're sure that the platform is really like having good quality overall content. And yeah, no, but 100% agree with what you said.
Yeah, it's a different platform. Like that's a thing. Like it's, you know, it's funny how I've seen people who maybe first, you know, decided to, let's say, put their attention into Facebook, and so they got into the advertising. That's what that is. That is an advertising platform, and it works very well and very effectively on that platform. But LinkedIn is a completely different animal, and it's not, you cannot just go and transfer and say, okay, I'm going to take all my ads that I, you know, ran on Facebook and now try running them on LinkedIn. That is not, and the reason why, and I had somebody on who is also, you know, very strong and is a LinkedIn expert. We talked about how it's kind of like, his analogy was great. It was kind of like the water cooler of the world, right? Or in a way I thought more, or sort of like the food court, right, of the world, where we can all come down and we can all kind of talk about our business experiences. But you're not immediately, like, you don't come down to the food court and start handing out business cards to people. You talk, you build relationships, you share your work experiences. Oh, you're up in North Tower, you know. Oh yeah, what's that like, right? That's what it is. And so if you recreate that, and again, you're just having, that's, again, I've often referred to it as a growth platform too, exactly because people are sharing valuable content, taking, you know, learning experiences and sharing it for free with what are colleagues at the end of the day, you know. I love how less competitive the new sort of business mindset is. It's not this idea of like that business is cutthroat, and there are business fundamentals that are always true. Like at the end of the day, like you have to have a product, a valuable product or service, right? And you know, and you have to have a reasonable sort of margins and an effective sales model, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not like it used to be, where it's like any other, you know, if I'm an agency, it's like every other agency is my competitor. It's like, no, every other agency is potentially a collaborator. Like, there's too much going on for any one person to be the master of all.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
That's actually funny you're saying that, because like I remember when I started like running my businesses, at first, you know, I thought it was like war. Every time I was like discovering like a new competitor or anything, I was like, oh man, we need to destroy them. Like, let's kill their clients and so on. It's going to be, and then I realized like, man, like the market, every market is in general like huge, and no one can take it all. Apart from very like example, like in B2C or but whatever, like in B2B, there is always room for a lot of person. And I think it's actually great what you're saying, because connecting with your competitors or with people on similar markets is really, really valuable, because you can actually like, you can realize that you're not addressing the exact same market and that you can refer each other business. Yes. So it's, And also it makes sense, you know, like when I go see someone and then I mention their competitor and they're like, yeah, they suck at everything. I'm like, it's not so fair, you know, like to say that, like I don't know, like sometimes I don't feel it's genuine, you know. So I think it's worth saying, like, when someone's doing great but maybe are on their segment, and just be fair in business. I think in the end it's what matters, because again, it's all about relationship. And yeah.
Yeah, I think is the other way that I often refer to it is moving to a village economy, back to a village economy, you know, and you know, using that as an analogy where, you know, everybody within the village, kind of somebody who made candles and somebody made the shoes and somebody made the laces for those shoes, you know, and everybody kind of was a trade and barter of, and obviously this, you know, still the real world economy, and it's now, you know, at a global scale. But essentially there's two sort of big forces. You've got these sort of huge, massive sort of machines that are growing just rapidly, exponentially, right? The Googles, the Amazons, the Facebooks, right? And you've got, you know, some tried and true big brands that are still doing well, Nike, you know, but there's so much room for, exactly as you're saying, this new sort of economy. And this is why I also say the economy of authenticity, because people aren't loyal to those big brands in the way that they used to be. And people want, sometimes it's like, okay, I want that custom made shirt because it has that little detail, you know, and it's handmade, and I actually like that, and I'm willing to spend a little more for that. And that's the other thing too. It's like, you know, certain things that you couldn't have a business before, it just wasn't practical. From the example I say, some weird, bizarre sort of crocheted socks that appeal to 1 in 1,000. You never had a business before with that, because you couldn't call enough people or knock on enough doors to sell 1 in 1,000. Technically now you can, though. Now it's different, because 1 in 1,000 in all of America. And if you know that, you know, everybody who, that 1 in 1,000 also listens to this band, watches this podcast, reads this magazine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, now I can actually target them directly. And you could never do that before. So the world has changed, you know, and I, for the better, like, to me. And I mean, that's what I love about Lempod too. Like you say, it's a power to the people kind of, and you know what? And I love it. Like, exactly. Like I genuinely believe that the thing is here's the thing, like, as it currently stands, you know, with my agency, and I try not to talk too much about my agency, but I mean, you know, I'm virtual model. Right, so I work only with contractors. Basically, the way that I often, if I'm explaining what distinguishes my agency, what I say is we've foregone the traditional trappings of traditional agencies, namely exposed brick walls, ping pong tables, and retainer contracts. It's not that we never go into retainer contracts with clients, but we're very willing to train and help and empower our clients to take possession of and run their own marketing, and run their own marketing with their own character, because we talk about this economy of authenticity, you being you, people being willing to buy from you because you're so passionate about what you do. It's not like Nike isn't out to make great shoes for me. They're out to make money. But the individual is, and that's what the appeal is. And that's why I think, again, there's this, like, people will choose, people, and they are choosing. And I just see this trend continuing. And again, that's why I love initiatives like yours. It's like, it is a power to the people. It's a tool. It's a tool for us for people to kind of network and leverage each other's and support each other. And I think it's a great thing. And I think LinkedIn should encourage it, frankly.
I'm not sure if they're going to be happy with that, but yeah, I mean, in the end, like, I think like LinkedIn is in a position where obviously they're never going to be able to say something like that. Like, they should encourage you things, but I really think that as long as you're understanding what LinkedIn is and how it's working, and the fact that what matters for them and also now for their stockholders, it's metrics such as time spent on the platform, number of engagements, number of view per post, which is metrics that they can start selling to advertiser and so on. So knowing that Lempod goes with that flow of having more people networking, more people engaging, because, like, in the end, like, let's face it, like, where did we meet? Like we meet in a pod. Like that's
Right.
you know, it's
That's absolutely
so
true.
yeah, because like we were talking about digital marketing and so on. We had like similar topic, similar network. You knew someone I knew, and then we got an intro, and from there here we are like talking, chatting, and this is like real human conversation. It's not automatic and everything, but since I mean we had some automation behind it, and at first it can start like that, and then like I think it can automation and building relationship can really go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I think that's really like it's just a matter of how people will run things. Like obviously if you want to see the really like negative side of it, you would be saying like, okay, lots of people are going to start spamming and everything, but this is not true, because in the end, like the algorithm of LinkedIn, it's basically like the way I see it is, let's say that we're all underwater, okay? And at the outside of the pool, there are like people who are like just looking, okay? Those people are the one who are never posting, or it's just like you and me spending time on LinkedIn. A pod will allow you to stand out of the water, and actually like those people outside, they might decide to help you out and pull you out of the water. This is where your post is good quality and you get like thousands of UF shares. And if they see that, I mean, I don't know, it's crap or whatever, like spammers would do, then you will go under. And if you start doing shit like that, LinkedIn is just going to say, this guy, even though some people are engaging with his post and content, is not doing quality, is not providing value, because the algorithm is smart enough to see that it's not a matter of, okay, maybe like 100 of his friends have liked the posts. If every time it's the same friends and the content is not good, I'm not going to push it anymore, It's just going to be like, yeah, stay with your friends and that's it,
Yeah.
So yeah, in the end, I think that the risk is very, very little of having like a negative impact. And I really think that it's actually like a super nice way of having people like meeting each other. Actually, like the way we will start framing Lempod in the future is really having like groups that are a bit like not, I don't like the terminology marketplace, but just like groups that are visible or not, where you will have like tags, for example, let's say SaaS digital marketing US or like North America, and let's say 5,000 plus connection or something like that, just so you can apply and start integrating new groups where you actually didn't know anyone from there. And then from there, it's like, because I usually see, even though like I engage automatically with some content, I always look at it in my LinkedIn, because I spend time on LinkedIn. I spend time messaging people and so on. And basically like I can see it, I can see when I've been liking a post automatically. So I'm going to go check the content. Is it good? If I like it, it's like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
I've done that. Exactly. I edited one, and it was like, and then someone's got this great campaign with the crack egg, right? And I was just like, and then it gave me some, it automated it. I was like, well, no, like I've actually now looked at the content. I'm like, excellent, right? Like I'm gonna, I'm gonna make a little pun. Why not? Like I'm gonna, so I edited it. Exactly. You can edit your comment. Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely brilliant. And so, yeah, you just recently launched Lempod 2.0, which was launched also on Product Hunt.
Lemlist, yeah, Lemlist 2.0. Yeah.
Excellent. So that's right. So Lempod, people can go and find as a Chrome extension, and Lemlist, where do people go and find that?
It's a website, lemlist.com, and then you can sign up for a free trial, 14 days. I mean, it's a SaaS business model. Any question, can reach out either to me like on the chat or on LinkedIn or on Facebook. I'm everywhere now. So.
Yeah, awesome. So tell me, by the way, so did you go straight into entrepreneurship, like partnered your own business right out of school?
Yeah, I work a bit before, like as a trainee in companies like Procter and Gamble, or luxury company in France, Hermès. Not sure if you're familiar. It's like I think in English people would pronounce it Hermes, with like the fancy bags and stuff. But this was more when I used to be like a chemical engineer, so more like on the R&D side. And otherwise, like after I actually traveled for a year, and then like once I started like learning about marketing and stuff, I was like, okay, like I want to run my business. I think I didn't really like enjoying having people like telling me what to do, what not to do, wait for approval and all this stuff. Like, I'm not this kind of person. I like to test fast, see what's working, what's not working, do what I like, and create something, that like, one thing that I really like, like a sentence I really like is like, never forget that rules have been made by people. I think we live in a world where we really live by rules, which is like nice, because obviously like we need rules to live in a society. But sometimes, people really think that what they're reading, either on the internet or on the press or on LinkedIn, everything is true and they have to live by it, which I think it's actually like super sad. And I think that's why I kind of like entrepreneurship, because like in the end, when you're launching your own business, okay, there are rules, but you can also create your own and build something that is a bit like you. So.
Oh man, I agree. First of all, I don't think there's ever been a better time to challenge status quo, to try to think differently. The quote that I love, along the lines of what you're saying, is a Nelson Mandela one, who said something along the lines of, it's only impossible until it's done.
Yeah, I
right?
like that one too.
And exactly that, like that, you're right. Exactly. There's all kinds of, and you just see a lot of people. I love how, especially, in fact, your generation in particular, are very open to just sort of reconsidering, well, okay, here's the status quo, but is there a better way? And, in many cases there is. And, it's you're right. Like if you have that bug and you like to innovate, with the thing, like the thing when it comes to rules and stuff like that, here's the thing, like if LinkedIn, if I got a message from LinkedIn and they said, hey, you're engaging in XX activities and these are against our policies, that's like, I want to play by the rules. I don't want to, but, at the same time, like, people need to understand the rate of technological change and the world that we live in. Like, we don't even know. Everything is sort of a big experiment. The whole world is, we are living under an umbrella of artificial intelligence. Google is essentially artificial intelligence, and we're under a big umbrella. We don't know where all of this is going. It is the Wild West to a certain extent, and I believe that one should certainly operate from a place of integrity and want to offer value, because I think that is a currency that never changes. You can lose it very quickly, and it has a huge impact. And that's why, again, the real, being a human thing and connecting with real people is so important. And so I do believe in being an honest and earnest broker and so forth. But to your point, boy, can you kind of is this a great time to say, to reconsider, how are things done? Is there a better way? Is there a way that's my way? There's no one way to skin the cat. You and I are both, competent marketers. If there was one way to run and sell and grow a business, we would all be doing it. That one simple, it's like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. No, every business is unique. Some businesses are better suited on Google, some, with Google AdWords, some businesses are great for Facebook, some are not. Some are amazing for LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. So, and there's so many ways to skin the cat. And I agree with you. 30K views, exactly, out of 500 million plus. It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, so I think 2019 is going to be pretty intense. Our goal is to release a new version of Lampot. At the moment, it's it has been spreaded. If you look at the Chrome extension, it's first rule of Lampot, you don't talk about Lampot. Second rule, you don't talk about Lampot. We did it Fight Club style. Not sure if it's in the movie. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. In fact, I meant to introduce it as that. I was like, so the first rule of Lampot is don't talk about it, and we're going to talk about it.
And so basically release a new version. I think it's going to be maybe end of February or something like that, where basically, as I said, we'll get a bit more advanced features. We're also thinking, whereas the good fit is address it to companies, because we have a lot of companies, starting using internally, where they are also, trying to really get more engagement to their post, or whenever they want to hire someone and so on. Like basically they'd like to have their company employees using their network to also spread the good news and spread which makes sense also, you know, because in any small companies, everyone is involved in the growth, I believe. And this is also what I like about like SMBs, like small and medium businesses. So trying to maybe like find out the right targets and release like updates. So basically like have better features, more opportunity to join pods that you wouldn't know about, give a bit more power to the admin, have a way to filter people pretty easily and check like what posts are performing good based on the contents. Because this is something that is easy for us to find out, because we know how many comments and like have been automated.
Yeah.
So we know the ones that are coming organically. And from there, same for the views, we can see whether or not it's a good post, you know. So
I love
us,
that you're already like the
yeah.
J chart. You already got the J chart like coming into it already. I'm like, man, the potential for this is amazing. The feature that here's my request for the feature set. Right? so right now, right, I guess as the post creator, you can define what are your tags. I think the individual, if you let the individual say, no, these are mine, these are my comments. Because I think that's part of the issue is, right, somebody will say like, okay, like here are the appropriate comments for my post, which is smart in the sense that they'll know what are appropriate comments more so than the end user. But also people are probably also going to be like, skip, I'll just do the automated ones. Yeah. Right. And then somebody be like, well, that doesn't sound like me.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So if somebody's like, okay, no, override with here are the types of comments that I would give as support. Or if I have a catchphrase, like, right, like for me, I'd be like, that's amazeballs. And I would have that for everybody, like all your things. I'd be like,
that's amazeballs. Yeah, I like it. I think it's it's a very good feedback. It's pretty like it's something we really discussed. And as you said, you know, like I think the pros are definitely like having people saying like you know, whenever you see a comment and it's not really like your words, or a comment with like, I don't know, like a misspell or whatever, like something like it really feels bad and you're like, oh shit, like I don't like that. And then on the other end, like the essence of the pod is to be with people you trust. Yes. So you should also trust their words. So it's like, I don't know.
I know.
It's very tricky. It's very tricky because it will change the way, but I mean, it's, definitely.
So again, maybe that's an admin override. Like the admin can select whether they get to choose, right? If they want to have strict.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Else, right? Because somebody could, exactly, because you could always have like, you always have to think about the outlier, like the misbehavior, the one that you don't trust, who comes in, like, who's like, okay, like, exactly, who takes a feature like I just said, and then is like, okay, you suck, this is terrible, blah, 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 right? And then it's like they've now used your tool as like a serial troller. But it's, man, I have trust in where you're going with it. Clearly you have like, it's a really smart idea and vision, and reflects a really clear insight in what people are wanting to do, and it is a connection tool as far as I'm concerned. I think it's such a smart thing. I'm really impressed by what you've done so far. For a guy, like I said, who looks like he just came out of the oven.
I'm not that young.
No, how old are you?
I'm 27.
That's pretty young, my friend. That's pretty young. You know how old I am? How old do you think I am?
32.
Nice. I'm 44.
No, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I've been around the block. I've been around the block and back. But so like that's the thing. Like I've been in this industry long enough. Like before, like back in the day when I was getting into it, I remember actually working at an agency where the agency owner was like, "Why do we need a website?" It was new. It was so new. Like you have no idea some of the shit that, like, when I look at my kids now and the stuff that they live, because I got, right, and they're on their iPads and the stuff that they can do and the convenience that they have with everything on demand. And I'm like, we thought it was a super cool thing when you had a cord that ran from your TV with buttons on it that you could click to change the channel. That was like automation back then. And we were like, wow, that's like awesome technology. We don't have to get up and change the channel anymore. That's wicked. But you still have to show up on the time of the show. And you have to sit through all the commercials and all of that stuff. Like, yeah, man. So yeah, a lot has changed. But this is where, again, you know, I keep on just rambling on here, but it's really interesting to me. You know, this is, I don't know that there's ever been a time where an older generation, or people my age or even older, have a lot to learn from people your age, right? You're old enough now where you are on top of a technology. You're developing, you understand SaaS models and all these things that are emerging that are, you know, transformative to society. And as a result, I mean, people really need to be paying attention to what it is that you guys are saying. And I think what you said earlier about what suited you, but, you know, I didn't want to listen. I had ideas, I had things, and I wanted to have an input into what I did. So that's partly why maybe, you know, you're well suited for as an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship certainly is not for everybody. But I think there's a lot of people in your generation who do, you know, have some very innovative ideas, have a very keen understanding of what these new technologies mean and where they're taking us. So I find it endlessly fascinating.
I think, yeah, I think it's interesting what you're saying. Like on my end, I have the other point of view, which is basically, I think that people my age often disregard people who have a bit more experience, because they're going to say from scratch, you're outdated, you don't know anything about technology. And I think this is like so stupid. Like, to be honest, like I really don't like the way people are talking about entrepreneurship nowadays. Like, for example, you would see like a lot of companies, media like TechCrunch and so on, they're going to make crazy articles about how this 25 years old entrepreneur got from 0 to $10 million funding in a year or something, whatever. I think this is like, okay, it's nice to see that young people are succeeding, but it's absolutely not true. Like, they're trying to give like an amazing picture of the young entrepreneur and so on, but in the end, I mean, we're the one who have a lot to learn from you guys as well. I mean, I don't consider you as like the master Yoda, oldish kind of thing, but
yeah, I'm not that old
yet. No, but as you said, you know, like you've been doing marketing for like more than 20 years and so on. So definitely, like every time I read like really interesting content, either from you or from like peers and so on, I'm like, yeah, this is great. You know, I'm really learning something, because even though, as you said, like technologically, there are a lot of things that have evolved. And I think like, obviously we can all learn from that. But there are also like pillars of the marketing that will stay there forever. As you said,
Absolutely.
like in the end, you know, like when you grow a business, relationships are what's going to make you succeed or not. Like, this is basically the backstories that no one is ever telling about. But, you know, sometimes they're like, okay, how is this guy succeeding? You know, yeah, sometimes it's a bit of luck, but most of the time it's actually the network, you know, like the people they've met, the people they've talked to, the people they're, I don't know, like, yeah. So and this is something you acquire also with age, and you also acquire a lot of things like what's working and what's not working, a better gut feeling and so on, you know. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. You acquire taste and experience, like over time. Like a graphic designer, you know, isn't great in their first graphic design. It's just like an artist, right? The first picture you draw isn't going to be beautiful. You have to draw a lot of pictures until all of a sudden, and it's not that you're not creative or you've got that good, right? It's not like you have the vision. It's that when you paint that first painting, it doesn't look like what you thought. It doesn't, you can't you know, and a lot of that is experience, and exactly what you said is true. There's pillars, and I see a lot of people, in fact, I do see a trend, you know, people are kind of forgetting the importance and the significance and the value of branding. Again, people are a little over. I do think that people now, because of all these new sort of metrics that are available to us, and you know, conversion optimization and stuff like that. Yeah, that's very transactional thinking. It's very short term. So yeah, it's really what I take it as. It's like a confidence thing. If you're a young person and you're looking at somebody older and being like, oh geez, you know, they've got so much more experience. They've got such a greater portfolio. Well, no, you have creativity, you've got energy, you've got drive, and everybody started somewhere. And conversely, I've seen it on the opposite side. People older, like my age and older, being like, oh, I feel like such an old dinosaur now. And these young kids, and they come out and they're so confident. It's like, well, no, exactly as you were saying, no, but you have wisdom and experience, and practical stuff. And as you said, there's pillars and things that will never, that are true in marketing and will never change. So yeah, look, it's a fascinating stuff, but my hat's off to you. When I see someone like yourself, it's like, I want him on, this is what I want. It's like, I want this guy on the show. I think, it's because I think it's important for people to see that, and to see what people like yourself are doing, how they're innovating, how you're challenging the status quo. It's great stuff. So I really appreciate you coming on the show and taking some time out of your busy day.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm just gonna steal your quote and say that it was amazeballs.
Take whatever you have, exactly. When this is online, you can take my description of what a pod is, throw that on your site. I'm more than
nice.
Thanks again, man. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Shiny disco ball.